I wish someone had broken down manifestation to me like this when I first started. This is part 4 of the Manifestation Masterclass. We're going to talk about one of the most powerful types of master manifestors. Now, one of the types, because there are many, a master manifestor comes in many different shapes, sizes, and forms, right? Depending on your own personal gifts, depending on what you're born with. But this right here is the intuitive, right? So this person right here is very reliant on their intuitive mind. They're very in tune with their intuition, right? Versus the logical mind, like we spoke about in the other videos. Now, let's go through the difference just to recap, and then we'll move on real quick. So the logical mind, right? This is important. The logical mind likes to plan and strategize, right? It's very limited. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of worry, right? Anytime you catch yourself planning, you know that you're using the logical mind, and it's very limited. It can only perceive what the 5 senses show it, versus the intuitive mind, right, is located physically in the gut. It manifests as gut signals, right? Really, really strong, signs that you need to go do something, or you need to go call someone, or you need to go to a certain place, and you may not know why in your logical mind, but your intuition is the thing that senses the shortest path to your desires, the shortest path to that new house, the shortest path to that person you've been desiring for so long that you can't stop thinking about, to that money that you've been trying to manifest, right? Now let's take the magic out of this for a second. Manifestation is just the process of taking what you have in your head and having it appear in real life, right? So if you imagine a clean room and you start to clean and your room is now clean, you've manifested a clean room, right? And that takes many different shapes and forms, but the further out it might seem, right, the less you can rely on your logical mind. The harder it is to rely on your logical mind, the more you have to rely on your intuition. If you want to get there in the shortest amount of time, you can use a logical mind, but it's going to make you take the long way around. You have to go around your pride and your ego and your story and your conditioning and your self-identity and your self-worth, and maybe you might land that person you've been thinking about for so long. The intuition just says, hey, just make the call. Or just go to the mall, and that's how they happen to appear in the same place as you, right? So the intuition, again, it shows up as signals, right? Signals located in the gut. It is a powerful energy. When you start to become in tune with this, and I'll show you how to do so in a second, you will start to become magnetic. You'll start to become a lot more in tune with nature, to the point where you feel like the nature around you has feelings. The nature around you, the sun, the moon, the stars, the trees, the wind, has presence, right? You'll start to be able to communicate with nature. You'll start to be able to communicate with people without using your words, right? Just the energy. When you walk into a room, people will feel you. They'll start to tell you that you've changed, right? And you'll be able to feel them. When you walk through a mall, you'll be able to feel people, right? Sometimes the crowds will even spread out as you walk through. You'll start to feel people, and you'll understand what they're going through. The intuition is beyond time, right? It's your highest self, the highest version of yourself communicating to you, right? The highest version of yourself beyond this 3D dimensional plane. This 3-dimensional plane it has a bird's eye view of all the different realities, all the different timelines that exist in this universe, and is communicating to you, right, through your gut signals on what the shortest path is to what you desire. It's you. Your intuition is you, from a higher plane, a bird's eye view of all these different realities, saying, hey, just go this way, right? And we've been conditioned to ignore it by our logical mind, right, in many different ways. Your intuition is beyond the 5 senses. Your intuition does not care about sight, hearing, sounds, taste, sense, or physical touch. It does not care about all of that, right? It is beyond time. It is beyond the 5 senses. The highest version of yourself has done this before. It's done this rodeo before. You've been here before, in other words, right? And it's just trying to guide you, right? And again, on the shortest path to your desires, right? And so when we say that these things are right here, right now, it's because, yes, there is no other moment than now. I'm sure you've heard that before. And your intuition exists in that present moment. It exists above all these different realities, and it tells you, hey, I sense what you desire. This is where it is, right? You know you are tapping into your intuition. You know you're relying on your intuitive energy. You know you're channeling it when you start to be able to sense people, places, and things from a mile away, especially on full moons, right? Especially on full moons, right? You'll start to understand things really, really quickly. You'll just have a really deep understanding of why things are the way they are. Or you'll have a deep understanding of what someone's going through, or the context when you walk into a room. You'll just understand. Things will just make sense to you. They just will. And you know you're relying on your intuitive mind, and you're channeling your intuition, your intuitive energy when you are in flow. Have you ever watched your mother clean on a Sunday morning and she just knows what to do? Have you ever watched pro athletes just be in flow, almost like they're dancing ballet as they're making layups or shooting basketball shots or playing hockey? Or content creators who can just flow without being interrupted, without stuttering? They're in flow. People who are in flow always seem like they are in their element. As you tap into your intuition, you will start to make the world your element. You will never be out of your element. And that's when you become magnetic. That's when you become radiant and powerful. And you will have a gravity to you the way the sun and the moon have a gravity to them. And so when you look at the sun, moon, and the stars, I want you to remember that all of these things are simply a reflection of what's inside of you. This reality we live in is a reflection of your consciousness. And that sun is up there to remind you that you have a gravity to you, right? And that you should be as sure that your desires will manifest as you are that the sun will rise in the morning. It's a surety to it, right? It's there to remind you of your power. Same with the moon. How do you raise your intuition? How do you tap into your intuition, rather? How do you channel that intuitive energy? How do you become magnetic? How do you own that? How do you develop that gravitas that is your intuition? First things first, the easiest thing is when you are in meditation or when you are going about your day, when you're at work, bring your awareness to your gut. How does your gut feel? Are you getting any signals? Right? Slow it down a bit, take a few deep breaths, and understand what you truly want to do in the situation. Don't try and block it with a reason. What do you want to do in the situation? It tends to be your gut instinct. Not all the time, but most of the time. There's a bit of a difference there. When you bring awareness to your gut, you will start to notice how much eating the wrong things can block your intuition. This is why diet is so important, and we'll talk about that later in another class when we talk about master manifestation techniques and the body-mind connection, right? But keeping your gut clean is super, super important, all right? Second, spend time alone. Why is this so important? Number one, you get to figure out how you would operate anyway, right? Without people telling you what to do or correcting you or advising you or you worrying about, what they might think of what you're doing. The more you do that, when you step out back into the world, you'll start to remember who you are and what you do anyway. That's the first thing. The second thing is the more time you spend alone, the more time you recognize what energy is yours. Because what happens is as we walk through the world and we're in public, we start to have our energy mesh and conflict with other people's, right? And we start to, feel things that we think are our own intuition, but they're really not. It's other people's energy. It's other people's energy stifling ours, right? And last but not least, deep mind programming. This is the single most effective way to become an intuitive. It's how I've made massive transformations in my life, right? Business, income, love, relationships, health-wise. My life has transformed because of deep mind programming. I put out these audios on my YouTube. I put out these scripts on my YouTube, and I teach you how to do this, for no cost at all, right? Deep mind programming. Every day I put out an audio. Listen to it in your meditations. Close your eyes, deep breaths. This will rewire your brain. This is designed to help you bring back your awareness from your logical mind to your intuition and help you channel that powerful energy that we were all born with and that you have, so that you can become a master manifester and transform your life in the blink of an eye. Hope that helps, guys. Follow for more.